Sydney Dragway and round one of Pro Alcohol in the 400Thunder series. 3,500 horsepower funny cars and dragsters with the occasional altered dotting the landscape, all doing battle in the quickest and fastest alcohol-fueled class in the sport. The favourite was 18-time national champion Gary Phillips. But when the dust settled, it was Wayne Price and Steve Reed in the final round. It is all Steve Reed. All Steve Reed. This is an emotional win for the Reed family. Now we find ourselves across the Nullarbor for round two of the championship and the Western Nationals here at the Perth Motorplex. Can Steve Reed continue his streak, or will the local contingent spoil the trip west? The nation's best have assembled here in Perth and are ready to do battle on one of the quickest tracks down under. This is 400 Thunder. So we find ourselves on the west coast over here at the Perth Motorplex once again, and we are set for a start with Pro Alcohol qualifying. What a matchup we've got for you. First up, Aaron Deary in the dragster, and he will be taking on Shannon Taylor in the absolutely gorgeous altered. Not the kind of car that we see a lot of in this series, but I tell you what, when they come out, they are certainly a fan favourite. Shannon Taylor is driving the wheels off that thing, but Aaron Deary gets across the line first. Good run from him, a 5.70. Shannon Taylor, a 5.93. Dips into the 5-second zone, but again, with 9 cars here this weekend, it is going to be tough to qualify. 5.93 is not in the realms of a competitive time, so I would think Shannon Taylor will need to quicken that thing up for the remainder of qualifying. Adam Marchant now in the second of the dragsters that we've got here this weekend, the Marchant family top alcohol dragster. Bit of an endangered species these days, the top alcohol dragster, but certainly one of the quickest that we've got in this country. And he is giving it a red-hot go here in the first round of qualifying. Wow, a 5.59. That is an extremely competitive time under the circumstances. Still very, very warm outside today. In the heat of the day, 5.59, that is a great run for him. And it is enough to take him to the top of the tree after the first qualifying session. Congratulations, Adam Marchant.
It was a nice solid run. It wasn't fast, it won't hold, but it was a good start to proceedings. It was slow shaking a lot early, but I just drove through it because I knew it would be a good clean run and it would hold in the field, and hopefully we'll step it up from there.
So Robert Ambrosi in the only Mercedes funny car that we've got in this field. Yes, that's right, it is a Mercedes, and that is his young daughter Monique Ambrosi out in front of the car, an integral part of this racing team. And great to see this team chasing the championship this year as well. He's attended every round so far this year. Of course, we only had one in Sydney, but he is planning on chasing the rest of it, depending how he goes with the results here on a solo pass in this second round of qualifying. Nighttime, cool air, good conditions, and it shows up on the boards for Rob Ambrosi, a 5.67 at just a tick over 405 kilometres per hour. I've got a feeling that might even be a personal best for that team. Sensational effort, and they'll be certainly looking to build on that in the third round of qualifying. Little bit of tyre shake at the top of first gear, but he drove through it, hits his shift points, does everything right, and Robert Ambrosi, that is a fantastic run to slot him into this qualified field. Now we move on to the local Superman, Craig Glasby in the Chevy Camaro. This man at one point was the quickest alcohol funny car in the world, and he is looking to reclaim that this weekend. Good conditions for setting records, I can tell you right now, and this car is on a mission. Throws the chutes a little bit early. That will have knocked off some ET, but a 5.44. That is only a couple of ticks off the fastest run that we've ever seen in this country. 5.44, fantastic run for Glasby. You can see his speed was under 400 kilometres per hour, so that shows that he did drop those parachutes ever so slightly, washed a little bit of speed off the top end of the racetrack. He had a little bit of driving to do in the middle of that run, but just about the most perfect run you will ever see from a funny car. Steve Reed now in the family-owned All-Star Battery funny car. Winner of the first round of the championship back in Sydney. Seems like a long time ago now. He is looking to back that up with another one here in Perth. Opposite sides of the country. Hopefully same result for Steve Reed. He's taking on Aaron Deary on this run. Dragster versus funny car battle. This is what Top Alcohol is all about for mine. Oh, another great side-by-side race. Aaron Deary crosses the line first, 5:57. You can see it was almost a psychic reaction time, 006, but Steve Reed goes quicker, 5:53. That's a great example of how a quicker reaction time but a slower elapsed time can get you across the finish line first. It is only qualifying, so reaction times don't count for anything, but I tell you what, Steve Reed, 5:53, that almost puts him in the box seat. He's in the top half of the field as far as qualifying goes with 1 round left to go. He is sitting pretty. Shannon Taylor now in the altar taking on John Canuli in the Crossroads Racing funny car. And this is going to be a good one. John Canuli, a perennial championship contender in Pro Alcohol. Oh, problems off the start line for Taylor. Looked like he hit the throttle and the car just went silent. No problems whatsoever for Canuli. How's that? He slots into the number 2 spot, a 5:45 with a 4. I've got a feeling that might even be a personal best for that team. That is a sensational run for John Canuli. That is heartbreak, though, for Taylor, pushing that car back off the start line. Not what you ever want to see. But Canuli, this was just about perfect for him. The car got a little bit over towards the centre line. He pulled it back into the centre. That's experience for you, and that puts him into the number 2 spot provisionally in qualifying. Final matchup of this first round of racing, and we've got Adam Marchant taking on the 18-time national champion, Gary Phillips, reigning national champion in this class. And he is looking to really stamp his authority on what has been a little bit of a troubled season for him so far. As we touched on, only one event in the books, but still not the kind of performance that Gary and Debbie expect from themselves. They're looking to bounce back this weekend. Well, Marchant was out in front till half-track, but the car went silent, and Phillips across the line, a 5:45 with a 4, identical to the 1,000th of a second to what John Canuli ran just 1 run ago. That is incredible. I tell you what, Gary Phillips gets it on the speed, 427.12 kilometres per hour, as opposed to Canuli's 420. But man, oh man, you talk tight qualifying, the top 3 separated by only 6,000ths of a second.
I'm probably more self-critical than anyone out here. You know, I'm harder on myself than most guys. You know, like I'll be the first to admit that I screwed up or, you know, whatever. And, you know, Shane, my son Shane, certainly doesn't give me any slack either. So there's no such thing as free lunches in this game. You only get back a small percentage of what you put in. So if you don't put 101% in, you don't get anything. But you know, it has to be a total commitment, and has been for a long time. You know, with my wife Debbie and son Shane, Shane's 25 now, and he went to his first race when he was two weeks old. So, you know, he's obviously chomping at the bit, wanting to get in the car and kick the old boy out. And you know, we'll see down the road. But you know, while Lucas still supports me, and yeah, results speak. And you know, they've been a fantastic company to have as a major sponsor, and I look forward to picking the phone up and calling them when the car runs good, because it's that sort of relationship.
Qualifying session 3 for Pro Alcohol. Highlights coming your way right now. And there is Gary Phillips, who, I tell you what, he had a good run. It wasn't quite enough for the number 1 spot. He'll be looking to take that off Craig Glasby on this run. He's up against Aaron Deary in the dragster, who is sitting pretty at the moment as far as the dragsters go. Probably at a little bit of a disadvantage under the rules the way they are at the moment, but we'll talk about that as the event goes on. I tell you what, Gary Phillips is doing his best to shake off Craig Glasby, and he does it, a 5:42. 5:42 at 429 kilometres per hour. That is a sensational run for Gary Phillips. The Lucas Oil team will be absolutely partying tonight, but they've got to remember the job is only half done, because he wants to get that trophy tomorrow. But that is enough to take the number 1 qualifying spot. Now, Craig Glasby is still sitting back there in the lanes. In fact, there he is on track. He can take that number 1 back off Gary Phillips. This is going to be a booming run. It's either going to be all or nothing for Craig Glasby in the Chevy Camaro. Gets off the start line very nicely. Great short time. Can he do it at the other end? No, he can't. A 5.46 with a 3. It's a great run under the conditions and a great run under any other circumstance, but it's not enough to take that number 1 spot back off Gary Phillips. Lots of sparks out from under the car as the clutch engages, the car launches. It was very clean the whole way down the racetrack, but not quite quick enough to grab that number 1 spot back off Gary Phillips. So this is the way they will line up for eliminations. Gary Phillips will take on Shannon Taylor. Steve Reed and Aaron Deary to do battle. Craig Glasby and Robert Ambrosi in the battle of the funny cars. And John Cannulli will take on Adam Marchant in a funny car versus dragster battle. First round of eliminations for Pro Alcohol at the 45th Western Nationals here at the Perth Motorplex, coming your way right now. And we have got some killer matchups in this first round of racing. The thing you've got to remember is if you don't win, if you don't cross the line first, you're out of here. Your day is done. Doesn't matter where you qualified, doesn't matter how far you've come. That's what it's about, getting to that finish line first. And we have got Craig Glasby in what at one stage was the quickest funny car in the world, the quickest alcohol funny car in the world, taking on Robert Ambrosi, the West Coast invader, in the Mercedes-bodied funny car. The RPMs come up. They'll build them to about 5,500 RPM and they'll drop the clutch, they'll be gone. Clean greens both sides of the track. Ambrosi had the whole shot, but Glasby gets it at the other end. It was probably closer than what he thought it was going to be, and he backs up those 540s from qualifying with a 546. Ambrosi made that a lot closer than it should have been with a great reaction time, 0.78 on the tree, but just not quite enough at the other end. It was still close though, probably closer than what Glasby thought it was going to be, but I tell you what, great job from Rob Ambrosi. He can hold his head high. That entire Ashfield Oils team, they did a great job this weekend. And let's have a look at exactly how tight the margin was at the other end. Oh, only a bit over a car length in the end, and Ambrosi was closing. Great race to open eliminations.
Do you know what? I'd love to sit here and tell you that I'm a cocky bugger and I'm right, and yes, we're confident. But no, look, still learning. And people don't forget that that is actually my 4th full lap with this car, with the new body and the new engine and the new tune-up combo. So it's all new. We're still learning every time. My crew chief's in there now going over the data, trying to learn stuff. And where you come to this meeting go, we're just using it as a test bench and get ready for the second alcohol round. All of a sudden we've gone, 44, 46, 46. It's a pretty amazing feeling, like we've only done 3 laps this whole weekend and they've all been 40s, it's like a dream run to me.
So a very happy Craig Glasby, and why wouldn't you be? I tell you what, he's got a car that is running supremely consistently all weekend long. He's looking to carry that into the semi-finals. Who he's going to race, we don't know yet. We've got John Cannulli in the funny car taking on Adam Marchant, who's flying the flag for the dragsters this weekend. To be honest, the dragsters are probably still a little bit disadvantaged under the rules the way they are at the moment, because the whole way that the funny car and dragster battle works out is different engine combinations, different blower overdrives, different weights on both cars. At the moment, the advantage seems to be firmly in the court of the funny cars. That's why we see so many of them in this class. There's still a few hardy souls out there that like to race the dragsters, and they are doing a great job. I tell you what, Aaron Deary this weekend and Adam Marchant. Marchant's giving Cannulli a race, but the big top-end charge of the funny car gets him home, and it's a good close race as well. Cannulli, 5.46, another 5.46, identical again to Craig Glasby. We saw identical times from Cannulli and Phillips in qualifying. We've now seen identical times from Glasby and Cannulli in eliminations. Incredible stuff here from these guys. Adam Marchant, though, great run from him, 5.61, 408 kilometres per hour. He gave it a great shake. He did everything he could in that car to take the win, but just not quite enough to get over the big top-end speed of the funny car and John Cannulli. The finger in the air, the universal signal for fire 'em up, boys. And that's exactly what they've done. Shannon Taylor in the only altered that we've got here this weekend. Beautifully presented car, that one. But I tell you what, he has got a job to do, and what a job it is. He has to beat Gary Phillips, the 18-time national champion, the man who qualified number 2 in this field, and the man who has been on a tear for the better part of 2 decades. Very cool shot on board the starter there. Not something we get to see too often, but Shannon Taylor in the altered, he's got a big job ahead of him here. He's going to need to be killer on this tree, and he was pretty good on the tree, but the car let him down just after that. It goes silent. Gary Phillips throws everything he's got at this track. What comes up? It's a 5:48. So he is right in the mix with those 5:46s we saw from the other two funny cars, setting himself in very good stead for the semi-finals.
I think you're going to see some spectacular runs in both semi-finals. I think the both pairings will be there. I mean, it'll be worth the admission alone just to see these two runs, I think, from both pairings.
There's definitely this feeling that there's something left in the pocket from all of you guys.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have a go this time. This is like, for all the marbles, all the cigars, all the everything you want to talk about. Yeah, we're going to have a red hot go this time. So if it sticks, it'll be a bullet.
Well, you heard it there, the prediction from Gary Phillips. He says the semi-finals are going to be something to watch, but we've still got one more run of eliminations to go. The first round of eliminations, that is, and it is another good old-fashioned battle in top alcohol, dragster versus funny car. And Steve Reed, I don't think it's been any secret that these guys have been struggling a little bit this weekend. They qualified down the qualifying list ever so slightly, not up where we would have expected them to be. And don't forget, these guys won the first event for the pro alcohol bracket at the East Coast Nationals back in Sydney. So they're already leading the championship, but they need to stay pace with Gary Phillips and the rest of the races here. Aaron Deary, though, in the dragster, he's going to be doing his best to stop them. Deary's out in front, and Deary is going to take it. Knocks out the championship leader, and Steve Reed, that is not a way to end your trip to Perth. A 7:53 was never going to get the job done over Aaron Deary's 5:62. You can see 5:62, it's down a little bit over what we've seen from the funny cars, but Aaron Deary has got the fists going. He's pointing the fingers. We heard him from inside that helmet. He is pumped inside that car, and he is going to take on one of those booming 5.4-second funny cars in the semi-finals. But man, oh man, Aaron Deary, that's the upset of the day for mine.
Yeah, look, the funny cars are running amok at the minute, and they've got their stuff really sorted out, and, kudos to them, obviously. But look, the dragster's got a bit left in it. We've made a few changes for this weekend, obviously, and I'm just pumped to be racing the multiple-time Australian champion, Gary Phillips. I have a lot of respect for him. He's like a mentor to me, like he's just a guru. So anytime you race Gary, you've got to have your A game.
We have got some killer matchups coming your way for the semi-final round of racing. Craig Glasby and John Canuli to do battle. Those guys have been running so close all day. That's going to be a great one. And then Gary Phillips and Aaron Deary in a funny car versus dragster battle here in Pro Alcohol. Semi-final time now, and this is probably the matchup of the season so far for mine. Craig Glasby taking on John Canuli. These two guys have gone hammer and tong all weekend long as far as setting quick times and going out there and just throwing it down. And, well, we've got them matched up against each other finally. I've never seen Kirsten Tucker Canuli look so serious. She's out in front of that car, casts a glance over to Craig Glasby and thinks, yeah, we got this. We're going to race here. And I'll tell you what, this is going to be a really, really good one. Crew chief for Craig Glasby, just doing final preparations. There's a lot going into setting these cars up the right way so that they leave straight, so that they go straight down the racetrack. Because you've got to remember, these things are basically arrows. They'll go wherever you point them. So if you point them at the wall of the centre line, guess what? That's where you're going to go. Canuli closest to screen, Glasby on the far side. I'm just going to let this breathe. This is going to be a cracker. Little blip of the throttle, a phantom rev for Canuli. The psych out begins. Oh no! That is the last thing I would have expected to see from Craig Glasby. He red lights. I think he may have even rolled the beams because it looked like the top stage light went out just before the red light came on. Craig Glasby rolls the beams and a .209 red light. And just to rub it in, You can see the shift light on the back of the injector hat flashing red at him as well there, just to rub it in. But John Canuli takes the win courtesy of that red light. I've got a feeling he might have seen the win light come on in his lane, so he buttoned it off, saved a little bit of work for his crew, and it was pretty vicious tyre shake as well for Craig Glasby. You can see the tractor tyre marks on the track. That says that the tyre is not getting a clean transition to the racetrack. It actually lifted the back of the car off the ground, so that was a very good reason to get off the throttle for Craig Glasby. But John Canuli, he's going to the final round. Who is going to race there? We don't know yet. Oh, and you can see just how violent that tyre shake is. It even picked up the front wheels, but it doesn't matter because John Canuli is your winner.
Yeah, I seen the red light come on as I was going into the stage to let go of the clutch, and I seen the red light, the car shook, so there's no point to the running out the back door, so I got off it.
So we have one of our finalists decided, but we don't know who he's going to race yet. It will either be Aaron Deary or Gary Phillips. Now, on paper, you'd have to think Gary Phillips has got this one all sewn up, but the problem is that we don't run drag races on paper. Case in point, have a look at the last run that we just saw down the racetrack. For all money, I thought that was going to be side by side all the way to the finish line, but the red light decided it, and it could very easily happen here. Gary Phillips has not been great on the Christmas tree all weekend long. He's been very, very tardy on his reaction times. Aaron Deary has been quick because he had to be quick. Clean greens on both sides of the track. Deary's out in front, but he bangs the supercharger, and Gary Phillips gets around him in the deep. 5:55. Oh, but I tell you what, Aaron Deary's got some problems here. It looks like that car is bouncing. Look at the brakes glowing red hot trying to get that car stopped. Take a bow. Aaron Deary gets it stopped before the sand trap. Only one chute came out and it didn't even blossom. You can see it sitting there on the wheelie bar. That's a scary, scary ride from Aaron Deary and a great drive job. But Gary Phillips right there, that is why he ran that subpar 5:55. And I say subpar with all due respect, just because of all the 540s that we've seen this weekend. The car got out of shape. He had to pedal it, get back onto the throttle. Deary was out in front, but the supercharger comes off the top of the engine, opens the door for Gary Phillips, and he's on his way to the final round.
Well, yeah, that run really didn't go as planned. It still went 550, but it shook like the proverbial dog in the razor blade deal, so it was... it wasn't a pretty run. It went really quick in the 60 foot, but it never quite made it to 80. Then it shook, but I did shut it off a little bit early. But whatever. Well, I think we're right. We've got lane choice for the final, and we're still going to give it a real good shot.
Final round now. One of the most cherished trophies on this tour, the 45th Western Nationals. This is a big one. And we have got two of the baddest funny cars in the land, Gary Phillips and John Canuli, set to do battle. Both races probably didn't have the kind of semi-final run that they were hoping for. Canuli, I'm sure, would have hoped for a full run so he could test himself against this track. But courtesy of that red light, a little bit of tyre shake, he shut the car off way early. Gary Phillips, on the other hand, he didn't have it all his way. He had to really fight to get over the top of Aaron Deary, but still he got there. He's got lane choice. He's taken the far side of the racetrack, so he obviously thinks there's something in that. But both these cars have been into the 540s over the course of this weekend. Both of these guys have finished in the top 5 of the championship for the last 3 years running. These guys are top quality racers. They deserve to be in the final round, and this is going to be a cracker no matter who wins it. I love the psych out on the start line from these alcohol cars. They bring the revs up, a couple of phantom revs. Canuli's in, we're set for a start. And Phillips just gaps him there. 5:44, puts the exclamation point on it. Debbie gives her son Shane a hug, and the Lucas Oil team will be celebrating tonight. It's been a great weekend for them. Number 1 qualifier with that 5:42. They take home the win. What a way to do it. And John Canuli, he gave it a valiant effort at 5:63. He was second off the starting line, though, which I think that's the first time that's happened all weekend. Gary Phillips, 0.59 on the tree. He shook the tyres ever so slightly at the top of first gear, but by that point, he was already out in front of Canuli. You can see the pipes go a little bit wet for Canuli, may have been dropping a cylinder or two, and Gary Phillips just stretches it out, takes the win, and with that, I will say, moves a long way up the championship points ladder. Big hugs all round, great sportsmanship, but Gary Phillips, what a racer.
Yeah, it was consistent. I got to say that myself. The 55 in the semi-finals was the only, bad run all weekend, really, and that was still a good run. So the car just looks like $1 million. The engine is coming out just great. Hey, I'm a happy little camper, I can tell you.
Well, next week we have got the kings of the sport, Top Fuel, coming your way from the Perth Motorplex and the West Coast Nitro event. This one is going to be huge. Well, he's been racing for a long, long time, and Gary Phillips just keeps on getting better with age, like a fine wine, or a champagne for that matter, spraying it round and having a great time. Congratulations to the Lucas Oil racer. That's all we've got time for on today's show. Make sure you do join us next week. We'll see you next time on 400 Thunder.